Hello, my name is KateO'Mahoney. Today we will look at how I would conduct a field study of a local area for a senior cycle group. I chose to conduct this field study on St Enda's Park, Rathfarnham. By the end of this presentation, you will understand how I would use ICT in the form of a podcast as part of this field study. You will understand my rationale for using St Enda's Park as a local field study. Be aware of the relevance of this field study to the senior cycle history curriculum. How the other humanities subjects of geography and CSBE have been incorporated. The use of numeracy and literacy throughout the day. And finally, how different types of learners can be included through differentiated tasks and methodologies. I chose St Enda's Park for a number of reasons. It is a local amenity in my community that is doused in Irish history and intrinsically linked to the events of 1916, of which we are now celebrating the 100th anniversary. This park is a great way to get students interacting with history and interested in both local and national events. St Enda's Park has a very interesting history. It was previously called the Fields of Odin and then named Hermitage by William Hudson, a previous owner. In 1910, Padraig Pearse bought the building and grounds and turned it into a boarding school. His brother William and friend MacDonagh, among many others, taught at the school. Many of the teachers and those that attended the school fought along Pearse during the 1916 Rising. The schoolhouse has now been turned into a museum that is open to the public and offers free entry and free tours. It houses many sculptures created by William Pearse and original documents including Padraig Pearse's original handwritten speech, which he made at O'Donovan Ross's funeral in Glasnevin Cemetery. Firstly, I would incorporate ICT into the day by having a podcast ready for the students to download and listen to on the way to the park. This podcast will be accompanied by a workbook. The podcast will give an overview of the day's proceedings, along with addressing appropriate behaviour and instructions to accompany the workbook. This workbook will be completed in pairs. The podcast will also give instructions of what is expected of the students after completing the field study. I will come back to this point later on in the presentation. Now let's take a look at the workbook that the students will be provided with in order to help them conduct their field study. The workbook will consist of different differentiated tasks to be completed at different stages of the day. They will be instructed to develop a timeline and to include certain dates of importance on it. Students will be asked to conduct document work from documents and different sources on display within the house. Students will have to use their investigative skills in order to find out about past pupils and past teachers of the school. There will be a viewfinder within the workbook that students will use to sketch a piece of William Pearse's work. The viewfinder will also be needed in order to map out the walled gardens. There is a nature room in which students will be asked to interact with. Replica Ohm stones and dolmens can be found in the park. Students will be asked to write about one of these, drawing on their knowledge from junior cycle history. Finally, students will be asked to investigate the lifespan of the Whitechurch stream that flows through the grounds of the park. Now a quick look at where this period of history fits into the curriculum. In third year of the junior cycle, students look at modern Irish history, briefly studying the run-up to events of 1916 and beyond. At senior cycle, they delve deeper into the events, building and expanding on their knowledge. The 1916 Rising falls under Topic 3, the pursuit of sovereignty and impact of partition, 1912 to 1949, in the later modern Ireland period, in the Leaving Certificate History syllabus. Throughout the Leaving Certificate course, the students will be further encouraged to work with evidence. This park offers just that, a chance to work with evidence and create a picture of history. St Enda's Park is located roughly 6 kilometres outside Dublin's city centre. The area around it has grown in recent years and the park is now surrounded by a number of housing estates. 100 years ago, there would have been nothing but fields surrounding this park. The Whitechurch stream runs through the park. It joins the Owendower River, which flows into the Dodder, which later joins the Liffey. It is unpolluted and contains a number of species of fish. The students will be asked to research the lifespan of this river. CSPE is part of the junior cycle. The students will be asked to draw on what they learned about the politics of Ireland at junior level in order to compare it to what they learn today about the politics of Ireland back in 1916. They will also be asked about the environment and the importance of looking after it. The nature study room will help them in this part of the field study. After the field study, students will be asked to ensure that their workbooks are completed to the best of their ability. They will also be asked to write a reflective essay on their field study. This will be mentioned in the podcast that they will listen to at the beginning of the day. The criteria of this is found at the back of their workbook. Numeracy and literacy can be seen to be used throughout the day. Students will be stepping back in time when they enter the house and grounds. They will be able to visualize and investigate what it was like to be in school 100 years ago. They are also asked to create a timeline to include certain dates and events. They also have to use maps and a grid referencing system. The students must read and decipher certain historical documents within the house. They also have to write a reflective essay and therefore must make sure that their notes are properly constructed, as this will inform their essays. Many of the tasks to be completed throughout the day are differentiated to include as many different types of learners as possible. Visual and audio learners are catered for through the use of the podcast, video footage, and other types of audio footage available as they tour the museum. Kinesthetic learners learn by doing, and this field study is all about doing, investigating, and gathering data. The students will be working in pairs. This will help anyone with learning difficulties to get the most out of the day. Finally, I hope you now understand how I would incorporate ICT into this field study in the form of a podcast, that you understand my rationale for choosing this park to conduct a local field study on, the suitability of this field study for a senior cycle group and where it fits into the history syllabus, how I incorporated the cross-curricular links of geography and CSPE into the day, how numeracy and literacy was used as part of the students' learning, and how differentiated tasks were used to include different types of learners. Thank you very much for listening and watching this podcast presentation. I hope that you found it both interesting and informative.